Thank you, everybody, and thank you for that introduction. Where to start? I think I'd start with what the Czech presidency said this morning, that we've been active in raw materials policy at least since 2008, and right from the very beginning, the need to diversify external sourcing was part of our approach. More recently, we have been pursuing the idea of developing strategic partnerships on critical raw material value chains with a number of countries, and we set out this approach in our 2020 action plan on critical raw materials. And we also announced the parts of the world which we were most interested in developing these relationships with. But I would come even more into the topical sphere, and we've seen that ever since COVID struck, supply chains have undergone a lot of disruptions, and even after COVID, the worst of COVID was over, we saw logistics were disrupted around the world. We saw high energy prices affecting the availability of materials. And of course, this year, with Russia's despicable invasion of Ukraine, we have seen further disruption to, well, everything basically, but this has also affected raw materials. And to that, we have to also factor in the tense relationships between the United States and China, which is, a lot of that's about control of resources as well. Anyway, in spring this year, the European Council, they had a reflection in Versailles, and they came out with a declaration which said we need to do three things. We need to build our defense capabilities in Europe. We need to, secondly, decouple as fast as possible from our energy reliance on Russia. And thirdly, we need to strengthen and make our economy more resilient. And they singled out, the first thing they singled out under that heading was critical raw materials. They said diversify through strategic partnerships. They said make sure that whatever you do in a resource efficient and circular way. And they also said you need to look into the question of strategic stockpiling. So we've been working on this. And indeed, just last Friday, the European Council had a discussion behind closed doors about China. But what came out in the press conference afterwards from both Charles Michel and Ursula von der Leyen was Europe can seriously no longer afford to be strategically dependent on others for its technologies and its raw materials. Now I come to the question of the strategic partnerships. What we've done since 2020 is we've put in place two partnerships, one with Canada and the other with Ukraine. And what we've seen in the case of Canada is that this framework has created space for investments to take place. A lot of investments have taken place on raw materials, on batteries, on hydrogen, and these investments are accelerating. In the case of Ukraine, our partnership is still in place, but unfortunately, its ability to deliver results has been affected by the war. But we are going to use our Raw Materials Week, thank you, Dario, for the plug there, to give this a high-level political push, because we think that the relationship we have with Ukraine based on raw materials and batteries can provide a very valuable platform for the reconstruction of the country. At the moment, we're about to finalize a strategic partnership which has been concluded in record time with Kazakhstan. This comes directly from the President of the European Commission. She met with the President Tokayev, during the General Assembly, and she realized that Kazakhstan has exposed itself quite a lot by not supporting fully Putin's war in Ukraine. And she also saw that Kazakhstan is squashed between Russia on the one side and China on the other, and she wanted to position Europe as a reliable partner for Kazakhstan, and therefore we have concluded a partnership around critical raw materials, batteries and renewable hydrogen, which we're now going to flesh out. And this is where we'll need EGS, and we'll need our Raw Materials Alliance and our Batteries Alliance to help us put the meat into the sandwich for this. We're also, at the moment, exploring further afield. I will leave Africa entirely to Cecile, but we're looking at Latin America. We are looking at Norway. We have negotiations underway with Norway. And just yesterday I was at the Council where we're expecting a mandate from the Council any day soon to engage in developing a strategic partnership with Greenland. So I'm sure that's of interest to Julie, who's got form in Greenland. But I think the pace of these strategic partnerships is accelerating, and it's just worth pointing out what they actually contain. The first thing is it's not about looking just to take raw materials from a resource-rich country, far from that. It's about looking at how we can develop value chain integration, how we can help resource-rich countries use their assets to move down the value chain themselves, with help from us on the technology front, on the capacity building front, and on the innovation front. So we're also looking to see how we can leverage all these partnerships to raise the level of environmental, social, and governance standards. We're also using the full toolkit we have at the European Union level to make sure the flanking measures are in place, but I'll leave Cecile to talk about that more. Just one final word. We are very big fans of UN framework classification. As Dario has said, we are expecting our Raw Materials Alliance to screen all projects in their investment pipeline through this prism before submission to the banks. And just this week, in the new Mineral Security Partnership, which is an alliance of like-minded countries who are looking for supply chain security for the years to come, we have proposed that one of the screening tools that should be used for projects is, again, UN framework classification. So with that, thank you very much.